the way you were with those kids. See, for me, that's a movie star.
There, he ended up tumbling down the stairs and hit the back of his head against the wall. And we ran down and said, "Are you okay, man? I'm going to go for a walk."
Shotgun. Stares at the shotgun. And he just goes, "Give us your money." And she goes, "Darren, I know it's you."
Welcome to another episode of the Path Talk Show, and today I have an interesting guest. He is an Australian award-winning actor. He was on The Mummy, Animal Kingdom, and The Black Balloon. Welcome, Luke Ford.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
No problems at all. I see you're already welcoming yourself, which is great.
I have a habit of doing that.
Yeah, it's all good. So tell us about yourself, where you first started and what wanted you to get into acting.
Okay, so, I was, when I was 13, I actually suffered a condition, really strong, severe form of dyslexia. It's almost like when my dyslexia was kind of like when you'd write a sentence like "man went down the shop to get some milk." Mine would be "man went down, get some missing words to milk." And when I would read it back, I could see it. I could completely see it, but then it would evaporate in front of me. After a few readings, I would see the word go away, because I could see the word when I would read the sentence back, and my teacher would be saying, "No, read it again, read it slower, read it slower." So I went to get some help because I was struggling in English classes and stuff like that. So I went and got some help, and then working with a dyslexic coach, he said to me, "So just so you know, just keep an eye on life and you'll have something creative about you. It's just that part of your brain will be strong, and there'll be something that you could do." So going into year 9 and 10, my English teacher recommended me doing drama. I didn't listen to him. Did music and, was getting a D, and then they said you should go do drama, and I said no, I'll do art, and then I went and did art, and then got a D, and then they said you should do drama, and then finally I did drama, I got an A, and that was it. I was hooked, and the best thing that ever happened to me in year 11 and 12, they dropped drama. They didn't have enough students doing it. My dad fought really hard for me to try and get it up, because I was Devo, and then they ended up not doing it, and it made me go and look in the back of the newspaper at the Sydney Morning Herald, see a little advertisement for acting classes, signed up for an acting class there. I think I was about 15, 16, something like that, and there was a teacher who pretty much came back from the United States studying Sanford Meisner technique, and then I ended up doing classes at the kids' school, learning this, and then going and joining him in his own school, and studied with him, and then studied around the world as well. And yeah, that's how my acting career came. Started landing professional work at 17. And yeah, even though that acting teacher did tell me that I wouldn't make a good actor, I'd make a great writer. My imagination's great, I just don't have an instinct. When I was 16 and was completely devastated, and because I couldn't write that well because I was dyslexic, and then went home, missed class, and then my dad came home from golf and said, "Hey, do you want to go to this acting class?" And I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm not good at it. And he goes, "Well, you paid your Macca's money out of it, you may as well finish it off, so next week I'll pick you up from golf and you go to class." Picked me up from went to class. They were doing scenes instead of Meisner that day, and the best student in the school hadn't done, who was like 19. He's a police officer now, interesting life actors, and his partner didn't turn up. So they threw me Death of the Salesman by Arthur Miller, and a Biff and Happy scene, which was huge. And he said, "Go up there, run it, learn it, and then we'll get you up at the end." And I was like, "I can't learn all this. This is impossible." And he said, "Improvise it." And then at 16 years of age, or 17 years of age, did this improv. The guy was slamming against the wall. I was crying. I was emotional. I was fighting. I was angry. I was like really instinctive moment to moment. And then he said to me, "I've never seen a kid do that before." And then all of a sudden, the agency that ran that school started calling me and saying, "Hey, we've got auditions for you." And at 17 years old, I started getting little professional roles.
That's awesome. And how do you find yourself actually preparing yourself to getting into character so you can actually go for these auditions or be on the films?
How do I find? Finding myself into it. It's a lot of the time it's a guidance of facts from the script. The facts are the guideline. They tell you what you got to do, where you are, You know, what environment, what place you're in, what events are going on, where's the circumstance. So you kind of put yourself in that, and once you find those facts, you can start to find out where you are similar and different to the character. Find the similarities in the differences is always a really good way. Just finding little bits of how to relate, and then starting to also find your imagination of going further into where this character's imagination is, where what they're living, what they're going through. I mean, we don't experience that, so we have to find our way in it, and then starting to somehow, depending on the environment of the film set and the director and the relationship and what they want, starting to find a way to make that into go from 3 stages of like starting to build some of the physical life and the emotional life as a habit, then staying consistent with that habit, and then letting it sink into your temperament a bit. So you are now starting to behave a lot more. You start to physically try and commit and emotionally try and commit to things, is the habit part. Then it starts to become like something where it's like easily accessible, and it's starting to take over your DNA, and then it's a temperament. And then at the end, and the last bit is it's your personality, which is when everyone else starts to notice you're in it. Like they don't see you other than your character. Then you know you're on your way to something. Very rare though. That's Daniel Day-Lewis, Meryl Streep, you know, some of the greats, goats, that commitment, you know, because it transforms.
Yeah, I love some of the stories you actually tell in class where you used to practice a lot in the mirror when you were, like, for example, trying to kiss a girl or doing certain things just to get into that moment. Like, can you actually brush us through that?
So, yeah, I guess that was like the beauty of my imagination. I used to always put a CD of a movie music on, some movie music. A lot of the time it was Braveheart, Born on the 4th of July, Dances with Wolves, Forrest Gump, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all of them. And you used to play with that music in the mirror in the bathroom. And I did kiss the corners of walls and doors, like committing to the scene, committing to the girl, committing to the connection. And so, I'm lucky mobile phones weren't around in those days. Yeah. Because my sisters would have filmed me. They caught me once or twice, I'm pretty sure. I mean, which they probably thought it was a whole other thing, to be honest. Luckily, like, nothing was going on with my hands downstairs. But, like, yeah, it was quite fun. And also not just movie music, like songs. Like a lot of Lionel Richie, you know, Stuck on You. And I'm like there going up and kissing the door. And also, like, dressing up and doing all kinds of things with character work. Like, you know, it was interesting how much of my acting professional work was manifested by my childish play at my teens and all through my life in my 20s. You know, like I put a hat on and a leather jacket and ended up trying to be Harrison Ford. I pulled the fan off the roof. I used to press the garage door, get it all the top, press it, run back, wait for the last bit and slide through the garage and grab my hat if I could, blessedly, you know, if it was like just timing and it fell off, and grab it and pull it through. I got taken by What's Eating Gilbert Grape because I thought that was real people, and I didn't like that movie at first, but then it was when my sister said, no, I knew it was Johnny Depp, but that's Leonardo DiCaprio. He was in Romeo and Juliet. And I'm like, what? Nah. And then, you know, went back and watched it on my own, just watching his performance, then finding ways to imitate him, then going off to school and people paying me, like putting a hat down and paying me a couple of dollars. Sometimes I got a $5 note, and I had to stay doing it for all the lunch. You know what I mean? Or till the last 5 minutes of lunch so I could get something from Tuck Shop from that money. You know, and so I got into this thing, and then it was just and war movies, like running around. I used to like full on think I was in a war, running around in my house. And I'm talking even in my early 20s, you know, like it was just this imaginational acting thing. But it's quite funny how in some way everything kind of manifested because of that childish play, because one, the mummy, that's a lot like Indiana Jones. That's what I was doing. I thought I was Indiana Jones, and I landed an Indiana Jones kind of style movie, an archaeologist. So there's two, Black Balloon for Gilbert Grape, the autistic boy, you know, Charlie. So, you know, I manifested that, and then Kokoda for the war movie, and there's more that come in just from running around as a kid.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much because I know as a kid I also had dyslexia as well.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
a speech impairment. So I remember a lot of people looked up to superheroes growing up.
Yeah.
But for me as a kid, I looked up to Mr. Bean. So as a kid, I dressed up
Mr.
wearing
Bean?
Yeah, Mr. Bean. So I wore his suit, I wore a black tie, I had a suitcase and that little teddy bear
I love
with
that.
a yellow car. And when people used to talk to me, I was like, I would only talk if you call me Bean.
You know what?
Yeah.
I will never look at you the same way again.
Oh,
I will
No,
always see
that's-
Mr. Bean now. I'll always be like, he's got a little bit of that and he's acting.
yeah. And I love how you talked about manifestation as well because
Yeah.
it's such a powerful tool because I don't know if you ever watched The Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I remember
I've
watching
read the
it.
book, yeah.
You read the book?
Yeah, I've read a
I
lot of
remember
those books.
watching it when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And once I saw that, and I was committed to wrestling at the time, so I decided to write down all my goals,
That's awesome.
and I just stuck with training. And then the time I hit 2021, I accomplished about 90% on what's on that book just from staying
Yeah.
consistent with training, competing in all those competitions, and
That's awesome.
everything just flew into intuition.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, it's like you once you put it out there, you visualize it, you see. And once you visualize it, you start to get the feeling from it. That feeling, if you can stay consistent and and keep the repetition of it, manifests into something. So it's like that, and like the whole system is like that. I had this unique incident going back in Adelaide, which was just one of the most, and I think I've shown you, but one of the most freakiest experiences of my life. I'm off in my own world. I can't remember what I was thinking about, but I think maybe it was something negative. And a monk had sit next to me, like 2 seats away, but like sat down, and I did notice him, but then I zoned out, and he must have been watching the chaos in my thing. I was probably acting, but like, knowing me. And then he comes up and he goes, oh, let me show you. And he did this incredible thing where he said, I want you to do this. And it's like, find the line in your hand, the first line in your hand, and find your line in your hand like this. And then you match them equally together, just like that. And then you go like that. Now, which one is the shorter? Oh, shit. Which one is the shorter finger? Mic drop. Which one's the shorter finger? And you put your hand like that. You close your eyes. You say, my finger is getting longer. My finger is getting longer. My finger is getting longer. Then you match it back up, and you'll notice that this one or the other one, whichever was the shorter one, has grown. And it's interesting because it does happen, and it is quite insane, and they do really try to concentrate on making sure that they're not cheating.
Yeah.
And it's lined up properly, but it's always growing. And the point of that is, like, you do the work, right? You believe it. You see it grow, but then everyone else starts around you seeing it grow. Like, they saw the finger grow. They're like going, whoa, that's freaky as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a great guideline of like how life can work and also not work. And I've experienced both.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
100%.
I feel like having that, being able to see that vision, right? No one else can see your vision, and only you can see it. Being able to set that vision right there and plan around that vision, right? Even on the times when people don't even believe, if you feel like, they'll underestimate you, right?
Yeah.
Only you can believe that vision because you can see it, right?
Yes.
And if you can really pursue it, plan around it, set those goals, right? You get to achieve that vision, right? And I 100% agree with like all of that.
100%. It's an up and down working thing, and consistency is important. And, I'm not saying that I've mastered it or I'm even that good at it yet, like I've made a lot of mistakes with it, and you can go off it really quickly if you just start thinking the wrong way.
Yeah.
But that there is, if you do get understanding with it, there is a path. Like you feel that path. You can
100%.
see that path,
Yes.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. And what was your audition process when you went into The Mummy, and how did you feel when you actually landed the audition into getting the role?
That was in some way the easiest yet hardest auditioning process I'd had. So basically it came up, I was on Black Balloon, and we were in our final week, and they had a thing called Agents Day. And the agent, Matt Andrews, who was with Marquee Management, and he came down and he's handed me a scene and said, look, I know that you're tired. I know that you've just about to wrap. You got a night shoot on Friday night. You wrap on Saturday morning. But Nicky Barrett's auditioning the Mummy movie. They're looking for the new Mummy guy. He's going to take over the franchise. Here's the scene. And I was kind of like, oh, Matt, I'll be honest. I'm meant to be going to Byron Bay on Sunday. And we've organised it. And, man, I just never get these roles. And I'm tired and all that. And then we wrapped on Black Balloon. And he said, don't worry, just call and cancel on Monday if you want. And I'll let Nicky know. Because Nicky did cast Black Balloon too. So anyway, I ended up having a big cry when the film wrapped. It was a very emotional movie for me. And in a beautiful way. And then drove home, got back up, woke up on Sunday morning and straight away wanted to do the audition. Turned up to the audition. On my way to go to Byron, I just got my mate to delay it till, one night, and we were headed off on Monday, and my mind was completely on Byron Bay. But I had gotten the grasp of the scene. I'd read it, I felt it, I enjoyed it. I went up there, just did one. I think I did one take. Nicky just said, "That's great." And I said, "Oh, do you want to do another one?" She said, "No." And I was like, "Okay." Then 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, and this is where about letting go of things. And like when you don't let go, you never get the role.
That's true.
And I was just chilling. And I'm driving to teach, and next minute I'm on the phone and I get a call and it's like, "Hey, have you got a passport?" It's my agent. I said, "Have you got a?" He's like, "Have you got a passport?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I do." And he says, "Check." I said, "Why?" He says, "You're on your way to America." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "They want you for the Mummy, like you are their favourite. They've got to audition about 6 or 7 guys, but you're their favourite." I said, "Who, the Mummy?" And they're like, "Yeah, the Mummy." I said, "What? I didn't audition for that." They said, "Yeah, you did." I said, "Nah, I didn't." I said, he was almost like, "Well, they're looking at you, so they've seen your audition." So, and then next minute I was like, "Oh, that was that one in Byron." And then went to America, and that was the other bit of luck. They didn't give me extra scenes. They gave me the same scene, which was like beautiful, because you kind of already had started getting it in your DNA. So I was a lot more free, and some of the nerves that would normally overwhelm me at that age, not now, but that age, you had kind of eliminated. And I knew that scene almost like back to front. I could say it backwards almost. And I went on my first day, and this is where you don't expect the unexpected. Because I went on to this thing and I'm thinking I'm going into a casting agent room, a nice little room, but a room like this kind of place. And there's this studio we pull up to. Then I walk in, it's a massive studio. Then there's a crew and they've got dolly shots and a fire and real guns. Next minute I'm getting my hair dyed brown. Brendan Fraser's there. He's, getting a hair wig thing on. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, what is this? And then just completely lost it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember too, because I was kind of in the middle of the auditioning period, and I looked through and I saw one of the actors auditioning, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. There's like 20 people. And then when it was my turn, because I was the favorite, I think, for the role, I walked in and it was like almost like at least 100, like 60, 70, 80 people, and they're all like almost making a pathway to you to the set. And you're like, hey, and it's like, hey, and they're like looking at you, okay, this is who Rob wants, this is who Rob wants. Yeah. And then I was like feeling that pressure, and your heart like races, and I've learnt breathing now is a very important thing. But like, 100%. I remember I couldn't get my take, like I couldn't speak almost. And then I remember the makeup artist coming up to me, and because Rob was like, okay, kid, you're kind of tanking. And I went, really? He says, yeah, you're kind of sucking, man. And I'm like, all right, so what we're going to do is, we're going to get Brendan and we're going to shoot him first, and then we'll get to you after lunch. You can just have a moment, collect yourself. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, and can we get the makeup, get all that sweat off him? And I just remember the makeup artist coming up and going, she's like, oh boy, I've never seen someone sweat so much. And she's just dabbing, oh my God, you're running with it. And I'm like, But the luck of it all for me was, and I think this is what kind of got me the role, was that at lunch, I didn't want to eat because I was nauseous from the nerves. And so I needed to just get out and get some fresh air. And you saw all the bunch of actors sitting around with the director and the producer and like, oh yeah, I love this film, you know, and doing all that. And I just went out and played basketball with the kids. There were kids there. And I started playing with these kids. And then at the end, you know, they loved me. We were like, I play well with kids, not in a weird way.
Yeah.
Of course. Loving, caring, mainly my niece and nephew way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and played and then went on there and didn't suck. I wasn't saying I was good, but I didn't suck. I got through it. I think he was even saying, you know, you got through it, you know. And then at the end, you know, some of these kids were wanting my autograph, which was quite fun.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, oh, yeah, I saw. Okay, I've never done this before, you know. And then I met the producers. I met the studio people. I went in the next day. They picked me up to go and meet some of them. And I remember, I think his name was Jeff Krasenberg, but I could get that wrong. And he was like third vice president of Universal or something like that. And he was like, you know what, your audition wasn't great. And I'm like, right. But the way you were with those kids, see, for me, that's a movie star. And I was like, so you got my support. I said, oh, great. And then I was back home and they had by contract to let me know in 2 weeks. And I remember that call came in, like I got woken up because I was at my folks at the time because I was in and out of things. And I was about 25, 24 and, 25. And my mum woke me up and said, wait, it's America. It's America.
It's America.
And I'm like, it's America. She goes, it's America. It's that director. And I went, oh, right. And I ran down and told me and, man, I screamed like going, I did it, you know, I got it wrong. And I shout and run up and down and run it down. And it was like a couple minutes of that. And then after everyone, mum was congratulating me and all that. And then I sat down and felt a fuckload of fear. Like hit me hard, like holy crap, now I got to do American accent, now I got to do this, now I got to do that. Yeah, which was an intriguing experience for a while. It took me a while to recover from that. And I realize now I'll never celebrate like that again. Burns your dopamine out. I felt very flat for a long time. Like even when I got that movie, I felt like flat for like, you know, 3-4 weeks, and you know, wasn't getting my head in the game well. And so it was.
Do you find it because you gave it a title that actually increased the anxiety? Because I know for me personally, when I used to go into competitions, right, I used to get quite nauseous and I used to feel sick right before competing, to the point sometimes I even throw up on the side. Ooh. Just because I gave it the title that I shouldn't have, and I should have just treated it like another training session. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. That's the thing. The best actors in the world, not the best actors in the world, your best performances in the world are in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like, they're in your bathroom, they're in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, I'd win, give me 2 Oscars. I've probably got 2 Oscars from acting in the bathroom, in the bedroom. Like, it's like no inhibition, no sense of trying to be right, no sense of trying to get something correct. No sense of like putting a title on what you think you have to do, and you just live. You be in that moment, you be in that imagination, you be in that world. Look, I'm looking at that girl. I'm not seeing her right in front of me appear. It's a feeling, you know what I mean? And so that's the best acting. So it's the exact same thing but in a different degree. You know, it's when we're in our own world, in our own space. That's, you know, when you don't put titles, or you don't think you have to do this, or you don't add worry to it. You don't add loss to it. You know, you don't add any sense of being correct, because art is not correct.
That's true.
Yes, there's no pressure at all.
Art is not correct. Yeah. And so that's exactly it's when you're in your own world. And not just that, but like if you're acting with someone, you're in a world with them. You know what I mean? Because the acting isn't about you; it's about the other person. So, you know, so that
That's
it's
true.
the world, and so you get lost in that world. You're in the unknown, and if you're in the unknown with your work, something's happening. Like the best work of actors I see are in the unknown. Something pinched them. Something triggered something, some truth got taken out, we're all bleeding with you. You went into the unknown. And as an actor, after that, you feel very frustrated because you're like, fuck, how do I do that again?
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
I mean? And that's the game.
And because obviously you're an acting coach as well, do you find a lot of actors try to relive those moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a general mistake, you know, like you end up like getting repetitive with it, and you try and redo what you did, and you can't do that because that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. That's already been recorded by the camera. And then you got to also fight the battle. If you're doing an audition, maybe not a problem, but you got to fight the battle of continuity. It's like, okay, we just did this take. So how do we not replicate this take, but also match it in a free moment way? That for me, that at the moment is some of the fun for me. Like in the old days, as you grow up with it, you know, you get scared at first because you care so much. I mean, like just like you, I was throwing up at times. Like auditions killed me and they still have a little bit of a memory to me. I'm trying to work on that because it was like the anxiety of going to an audition, like driving and feeling that sense of failure or flopping and all your imagination, kind of like when you go on a date, you think what could happen in every way, like all the bad stuff comes out then, and for me it was like in auditioning, all the bad stuff came out a lot more than the good stuff, like me nailing it, and the nausea would kick in and you just wanted to get that audition done. And that's a bad place because you're not really wanting to play.
Yeah.
And so you just want I just want to get over it. You know, you're so caught up in the anxiety of it. And not on, so like set that happened a little bit for me, but I got over that really quickly. For some apparent reason, once I got the job, I don't know, I'm a lot more like, I enjoy it. Like the only thing about it would be like Jack Nicholson says, you know, where he's like, you're kicking goals by lunchtime. You know what I mean? On your first day, then anything goes. You know, It's like it's that sense of like, you just got to get through that first shot. You got to get through that look with your director. Your director acknowledges you in some way. We're cooking. And then once they say that, it's game on. It's like you creatively open up a free, for me now, a creative, instinctive place. And I just always enjoy that each take gets better. I find my way in more in, you feel it in your DNA.
No, definitely. And I find it quite funny too because I tend to enjoy auditions.
Right.
More surprisingly, just because I know I don't get that same feeling as going into competition where I know there's a chance of you getting beaten up or you beating up on someone, and there's no worse feeling than feel like you're going to get beaten up in front of everyone.
That's true. A neck crank or you know what, I just might suck in an audition, you know? You take the suck in the audition.
Yeah.
So, which I think will really help you land work as time goes on.
Yeah.
How many gigs have you landed now? You've only just
I've done
a year or so.
2 short films,
a
commercial, and a promotional video on YouTube.
That's great. That's a great start.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing it now? Like,
so I started around July last year.
So nearly a year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A great start, man. Commercial. Did you get paid?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, it's good money.
It is good money, man. But let me tell you, like, when you've done them, like, it's amazing how random people, like, were around when The Mummy was out and had been a year or so or whatever, and then Black Balloon, Cocoda, all these TV shows, McLeod's Daughters, all that, like, that gets a bit of notice. But I'm at the footy watching Geelong Cats versus Swans at Sydney, but I'm a Cats fan. And I'm standing there, and the drunkest guy, like, going, and he just looked at me and went, "You're the salt and vinegar shapes kid." And I was like, I'm 30-something. Did that at like 18, 19.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, man. Like, how the hell you know? Never forget a face. And I was like, what the hell? It's like, man, I can't believe that's still, it's like a tattoo. It just sticks.
Crazy.
It's like, mate, did you see the Black Balloon? Did you see the Mummy?
That was that one thing he remembers.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful with those ads. They can be rememberable.
What is like one of the craziest stories that you remember, not actually working in acting, but outside of it, where you experience hanging out with the other actors and?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's been some crazy ones. Okay. So when filming The Mummy, there's a lot of mummy stories. There was so many things that happened on The Mummy for me. But one of the fun ones that always goes was when I had 10 days off in Shanghai. My acting teacher came, and one of my friends who helped me work on, I won't name names, one of my friends who helped me work on Black Balloon came. And I said to him, come on the days off, the 10 days off, and we'll go around. Now, we were shooting at Shanghai Studios, which is about 2.5 hours away from Shanghai. I don't know what the place is called, but that's what I remember. And our hotel was near that studios, and it was a nice hotel. But it was an area where not many people see, white people, tall things. We were in Tiamo or something like that as well. That happened. They had car accidents and bike accidents looking at us. Brendan Fraser especially. And then we were in Shanghai. Anyway, there was a club next to it, and the boys arrived and they wanted to go out that night, and we went clubbing. And then next minute, my friend we were really struggling to communicate with people in the club because of different languages. And I was like, okay, I don't really drink, and I'm good. I'm going to go and have an early night. And I said I'd leave. Anyway, one of my friends was trying to talk to someone, and they stayed.
Oh, wow.
And then my acting teacher came with me, and he went to his room, and I said to him, mate, I know you're an early riser. Generally, I'm an early riser, but I'm tired. I've had long shoots. Do not buzz me or wake me up before 8. Next minute, 6 a.m., my mobile rings. I'm like, dude, I told you, it's his number. Hang it up. Next minute, the landline of the hotel rings. I'm like, dude, shut up, go to bed. I'm not up yet, you know? So then all of a sudden, bam, he's there at the door knocking, and he opens the door and he goes, Houston, we got a problem. I said, what do you mean? Did he not come home? He goes, no, he's home, but you got to see this. I went, what? He says, you got to see this. And I'm like, okay. So next minute, I go to his room, and there he is, pretty much naked. And he's Greek Australian, and he had a really black dick and testicles, like pitch black, like your shirt black, right? Pitch black, right? All the way to the runway, like the whole balls and the whole penis. And he was a well-endowed man. He was a very well-endowed man. I was like, damn, is that what it looks like? Holy cow. And he's there going, what's wrong with me for? And I'm like, what the hell? And I'd never seen anything like it, neither did the teacher. And he's like, I say, what did you do? He said, nothing. So did you go with that girl? He went, yeah, we were dancing, but no. I said, did you have sex with her? He goes, no. I go, what? Did you have your shots when you came here? Shots? I said, you got to have shots here. There's like 3 shots you got to get. I don't know what they are, but you got to get them. And he's like, no. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. He's like, dude, I'm freaking out. It's the only good thing I have in my life. And I said, I can tell. I can tell. So I said, all right, let me go. And because we were in places where there was not a lot of English, they gave us an assistant each. And didn't get one in Montreal, I got one there. And a lovely lady named Lindsay. And it was the weekend. So I was like, oh no, I don't want to call them, but they love to work anyway. So they do. Or the driver was downstairs waiting for me. I was like, I didn't even know he was working. And I said, listen, Lindsay, I'm so sorry, you have to come here. We have to find out like if there's a doctor or a hospital or everything like that. And next minute she comes up, and we thought, why don't you go off and see if you can masturbate? And he's like, what? I said, well, maybe it's blue balls, like an extreme case of blue balls. And he says, and see what it feels like, because it could be damaged. And he's like, no, it feels kind of normal, a little different. But no, I couldn't do anything with the blue balls. I'm not that horny. I said, okay, all right, okay. So Lindsay comes, and we say to her, she'd been looking up. She goes, so if you want to go to like a doctor or a hospital, we have to go to Shanghai. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I was like, there's no doctors here? And she's like, no, Shanghai. I said, oh man, that's like 2.5 hours. Is that bad? You know what I mean? and the other teacher's like, yeah, Angela, we're going to do this today. I was like, no, man, this could be serious. And I said, yeah, it's true, it could be serious. And then she goes, but if you want to go to a pharmacy, we can go to a pharmacy. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, why don't we do that first, and then we can decide whether or not. And next minute, we're in the car, and Lindsay's like, so what is the problem? And we're like, yeah, so my mate has a black dick. And they go, black dick? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, what colour should it be? And we're like, it's like my forearm, just a little bit darker. She goes, a little darker? Okay, yeah, okay. And it's black. What kind of black? It's like black. He's like, well, they're black. She goes, that black. She goes, huh? She's like, so we go into the pharmacy, and then next minute we're there, and she starts going, you know, and speaking, and yeah, and he's like, oh, wow. And they're having these moments, and it's back and forth, and then she's like, so it's black? And we're like, yeah, it's black. He's like, he's never seen or heard of this. And then you know, my acting teacher's like, you've been through acting school, you've had to be naked. Take it out and show him. And so next minute we're like, can we, yeah. And he's like, I don't want to. I said, can we do that? And he's like, yeah. And the guy's like, you know, looks at it, and he's like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm not kidding, a lady who looked like she was 120 with a cane just comes walking around the corner to this big black penis, just staring at her face, and then ran back. Ran away. Like, and then it was game on for me. So we didn't go to the hospital because, you know, we had things to do, and he said it was nothing. There was nothing he was feeling. So then they wanted to go on set, like they were wanting to see this big set, and it was the stuff they were filming, which I was about to join a few days later, but like it was when the mummy gets loose and breaks through Shanghai City with the fireworks, and so I took him on set, and you know, here I am, and I'm walking around a set, and there's, you know, Brendan Fraser and Rob Cohen. I'm like, hey, my mate's got a black penis, you know, and they're like, what? Is he black? I'm like, no, he's Greek, and he's got a black dick and balls. So next minute, we're in my trailer hanging out, and and I'm like, oh, yeah, and it's Brendan Fraser. He's like, hey, come to see the black penis. And I'm like, what? So I've come to see the black penis. And I'm like, really? Okay, yeah. So get your penis out. Brendan Fraser wants to see it. And he's like, oh, it's Brendan Fraser. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And the next minute he did, and then he's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. And then, can I take a photo? And
a photo.
Like, yeah. He's like, just not the face, and you know. And then next minute there's another knock on the door. And it's Mark Petrie, the assistant producer, who's a 6'10" African American, and he's there going, I hear a guy's got a bigger dick than me, and it's black. And then we're like, oh, God damn, you know? He says, great, grab it. Rob wants to see it. You know what I mean? So we're going down, and Rob Cohen's like, I hear this guy's got a black dick. And I have a look. Oh my God! And he's laughing like that and carrying on. He's just like full on, and it just went all like through the set, and next minute Maria Bello was wanting to see it, and then it changed colour. And it changed colour. Rob Cohen, I think, even kept him around for a couple more days to watch it change. It went to purplish, and then it went to green, and that was like an alien penis. It was hilarious.
Wow.
Like, it's like every day, it was like almost like my alarm clock. What colour is it today?
What colour is it today?
It's changed colour. It's changed colour. And it was green, and then we kind of all figured it out. It was badly broken, burst a capillary, badly bruised.
Ooh.
And then when we kind of figured that out, he went, huh, interesting. And I was like, why? He said, I was on the dance floor and she was rubbing up on me. And I couldn't help it. I was getting a bit of movement. And then she ran off to talk to a friend. Then she came and ran and she jumped on me and I grabbed her and she kind of fell on it. And I was like, oh. And it was a little bit. And then like to fall on that, it was like, that could be a trampoline. You know what I mean? But yeah, so, and it just spread through set. It was quite fun. There was the black penis.
That's crazy.
Yeah, all the way to the balls. Never seen it before.
Yeah.
I hope I don't. Again. Unless it's
probably won't.
meant to be that colour.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So that's one of them. And then, you know, flooded a hotel on the first night. That was another one. I don't drink much. I'm not a drinker. And they stayed at... they would put us up at a place, I think it was called the Saints of Peace. It was beautiful. It was like a penthouse, or it was a nice room. It was a really lovely hotel. And on my first night out, like after the night after I landed, you know, the assistant producers took me out, and I just drank too much, and I didn't really monitor it, and I didn't think I wouldn't handle it. And then I came home, and I was like, you know, when you've had too much, and it's rare, I don't drink much, but like it's like, I was like, oh, oh no, I'm going to be sick. And then I always think to myself, whenever I'm feeling nauseous, I love hopping in a hot shower, just sitting in the shower in the hot water. Next minute, I'm dreaming of pissing on myself. And I am. There's like 6 versions of me. I still remember it, just standing there getting their penis out and peeing on me. And I'm like, what? And then I wake up and my ass had clogged the drain. And yeah, I flooded my room, the rooms around there, the rooms downstairs, and the restaurant, and locked myself out naked as well. So that was a good start to the movie. It's like, and then I'm like, oh, there goes my mummy fee, which then I found out because the lawyers had done it and it was an accident. I had accidentals in my contract, so that was an insurance thing. But it was like not a great start, but it was genuinely an accident. And like, you know, I mean, I didn't drink after that, you know, for a while. Man, you know, I just didn't enjoy that kind of thing. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of a story of when I used to compete all the time, and there was this one competition, which was Australia Cup. So at that time, they had Canada, India, and a few different countries that are visiting to compete. And I remember just after competition, we all just decided to party. And I just remember I was just hanging out with this crew, and this guy ended up really liking this girl. Yeah. But me and this girl were just good friends. Yeah. We didn't have anything going on. And we decided to just go for a walk and just talk. And the guy started to get really jealous because also, obviously he was drunk over the top of his head. And when we were walking and talking, we just saw this guy who was just steaming down like the hall. And I was like, what's wrong with this guy? Oh, no. So we actually ran to him and said, are you okay? It's like, I'm going to go for a walk. It's like, man, yeah, chill here and we'll try to get you some water. I'm going to go for a walk. And then from there, he ended up tumbling down the stairs and hit the back of his head against the wall. Oof. And we ran down and said, are you okay, man? I'm going to go for a walk. And he kept going down. I was like, okay, you go down with him. I get some water and I'll go down the elevator. So she ended up chasing him halfway down the street just to get him, and I had to give him the water, and I explained the situation. Man, there's nothing going on between us. We're just friends, etc. And that same night, I ended up meeting this Canadian girl that I ended up seeing a bit later.
Right.
Yeah.
Player.
Yeah, back then.
That's funny.
And then I ended up like hooking up with her. One of my friends ended up popping like a condom in my pocket, and then we went back into the room. And at that very night, my friends knew what was happening, so they all pretend they were me. So they got the hotel door key for my room. Wow. And they pretty much scanned the door open, and this is when we were already sleeping. So they all just started jumping on my bed. I just remember I have to hold this blanket as tight as I can on top of us so they don't rip the blanket off, because that was their intention. And after that, they just left then.
Oh, wow. That's
left us alone. Yeah.
It's like baby reindeer.
Yeah. Oh, man. Crazy nights we had.
Yeah. There's lots of good ones, I tell you. There's lots of good ones, you know. I love a good night, but I don't really go out as much anymore. But like I did always love, there's something lovely about building friendships and people, and you go out, like actors as a group going out. Like we've done a couple of war movies, and, you know, had some things happen in those movies, you know, going out and stuff like that. And it's an intriguing experience, you know, the whole filming. And then you don't talk to them ever again.
Yeah, I think actors and athletes are a lot alike in that.
Yeah.
Like, same way you hear a lot about what happens in the Commonwealth Games village, the Olympic village.
Yeah. I was about to say, you know, that village would make a real bomb.
Oh, yeah. Like, literally, as one of the packages, they give you packets of condoms and some, like, lubricant. Yeah.
All right, let's get fucking.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to win gold.
Yeah, that's it. So if you feel like winning gold, you just wear the golden ones. If you want to come second place, just wear silver.
Pull out the silver ones.
Yeah, that's it.
Or you can write, it's almost like, which one is a gold one of these movies, these endeavours I go through? Wow, so they all get it on. And did you do the Olympics? No, just Commonwealth?
I just did the Commonwealth. But I tried to qualify for one of them when I was 19 years old, but every time there was another Olympics, something ended up happening, and I didn't qualify for it.
That's right. Yeah. And so with the Commonwealth Games, so in the village, like, do you all do they all internationally all kind of mingle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. So
there's a lot of international sex. Is that what you're saying too?
Wow, definitely. There's some crazy stories.
I got in the wrong sport.
Oh, like you wouldn't believe what you would see in clubs. Like I remember when I think I was only 17 at the time. And this was after I finished competing I had to be at the age of 25 to be able to club. So I remember there was this part where everyone was dancing where I could sneak through, and then from there I could sneak into the bar from there because there was that small gap. And I just remember going through there, actually trying my first drink when I was like that age, and I remember going outside just needing to go toilet. And there was these two Irish guys having a sword fight, if you know what I mean. I was like, what the hell is happening here? And then,
on guard.
On guard. And then I see these like bunch of people just hooking up and then going to the room. And there was this really big athlete when I got back into the hotel. We're in an elevator. There was two swimmers sitting next to me. They had like this lounge, like they were interviewing people as just for fun. But they were off their heads. And this big star walked in the elevator with this hot girl, and then the swimmer ended up grabbing his balls. I was like, yeah, that's good size.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, did you get lucky in the village?
Not at that age. I felt I was so immature, but I had that big wonder eye.
Yeah, right.
But I felt like back then I was too attached to getting an income an outcome of it, where I found out later on when I started maturing a bit, it's not being attached to the outcome. It's just being able to take everything as a bonus.
Oh, right. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
And did they have McDonald's in your village?
Not
I know
that
that the
one.
Olympics did. No, not that one.
The Olympics does, 100%.
Did they have any food in
They do actually. I'm lying. They did have McDonald's, but outside the cafeteria.
Oh, right.
So you had to go into the outside to be able to get it.
And going out the outside, is there any like what do you get scanned, or is like what is it? Why can't you just...
There's a big security procedure where you have to go in. It's like going into the airport. So
Right.
You have
customs and stuff.
stuff where guys carry like AK-47s.
No shit, really?
No joke. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
They have guns?
They have guns.
What?
Just to protect the athletes.
Jesus.
Yeah, and everyone has to be on their best behavior, whoever is volunteering or working on the athletes' village.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, is it like, it sounds so, like communist. Sounds like you were in like East Berlin or, at the time, East Berlin in the 70s or something, Because it sounds like, so when they go, do they ask you where you're going?
Yeah, they pretty much ask where we're going, unless we are going as a group. Then they don't ask because they already know where we're going.
Okay, are you not allowed out?
We're allowed out, but as long as we give them the details on where we're going.
And why is this?
I think it's more because of our protection, because during that time when we went to India was right before a bombing that happened, and they were just trying to protect the athletes from being scammed or being kidnapped or actually
terrorist stuff.
Terrorist stuff.
Interesting, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it gets really serious.
It does.
So then it's kind of like camping, it's like
It
a
is.
community prison. You know what I mean? With McDonald's and just on the
McDonald's.
outside, so you still have to do all the checkout. Right, where you going? Just to get a Big Mac.
That's it.
It's a luxury, really.
You got to do that. Just take your pants off.
Oh, man.
Bend over.
Even going to the shopping malls in India, it's like going into a Dubai shopping mall. You have to go through security to be able to get into those expensive stores.
Wow. Right.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Now inside the village, what was in there?
Okay, so
You had
obviously
food and
food, and then
what kind of food was that? Like what?
so it's international. So you have
Like a
depending
buffet or
like international buffet.
Wow. And you can.
Are
you forced to eat Australian food? Or?
No, you can eat anything. Yeah, you're forced to eat only Australian food, unfortunately.
Well, I had that issue I had that issue on the Mummy. So we got into a real intriguing area in China because of we had Hongkonese and Chinese. They were kind of like not really happy being taken over by China. They probably want to be independent, whatever it be. And so they didn't want cause any offense. So there was a Western food for Western food people only, and then there was a Chinese food for Chinese food people only, and then there was the
Wow.
And I ended up breaking the rules.
What would you do?
Well, the assistants and her friends kept on asking, "Can we eat there?" And at first I went, "Yeah," and they went in, and then I got told I can't do that, and they were like, and they said you can't do that. And it's like, we don't want to cause any problems. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. I was like, man, it's no biggie. They want to try Western food, So then I started going, some of the stunties were keen to eat because some of them lived there. And they were the Western stunties. And they wanted to eat in Hong Kong and Hong Kong food and Chinese food. So next minute I went with them, and then we just and then I think everyone realized it wasn't too much, you know. But there was politics in China, man. From day one, like. So I was in China and in a trailer, and next minute, an assistant, we were filming in Tiamu or something, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and went, you got to go back to Hong Kong. And I went, why? He's like, your visa got denied. I said, it's already been approved. I went to the embassy, it's got stamped. He said, yeah, they just got rid of it. I said, what? They just picked like 4 of us, and you're the only actor, and said, no more. You got no visa, no more. So then I was like, so what do I got to do? And they said, well, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to get you to China. This is true. We're going to get you to Hong Kong. You can only be there for the day because you got to film the next day. Says we're going to be in the rest of the afternoon off. Go there. You're going to go and put you in a hotel. You won't stay the night, but you'll get a knock on the door. All right. You hand them these papers and your passport. I went, right, and this amount of money. And I'm like, cash? Oh, right. Give him that bag of envelope. I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, like, is this legal? It's legal? This is how things work around here, Luke. So next minute, it all went down and came back and had the passport. And then we had a real hard one with the Chinese military, because they gave us a battalion and a battalion of soldiers. And for them, I'd say this was a great experience for them. And when we were filming, you know, we're walking down the line of the military, and like, we were filming in winter, but it's a desert. So, you know, they had Jet Li, and they had like at least maybe 250 meters worth of the Great Wall of China built on their own thing. It was a huge set and a huge Jet Li head. And I remember walking down the line with that military, and then someone asked for a photo, like the digital photos then, and they were like, oh, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, and all that. And then same was going a little bit with Brendan, and not knowing that we're causing problems. And next minute, the captain or whatever they are, he didn't like it. So in between takes, in like 35, 40 something degree heat, he'd make all of them take off their shoes and socks, and they weren't allowed any water, and they had to march up and down in between takes. And they were dropping, like, I don't remember how many ambulances turned up or whatever, but like there were people dehydrating. It was kind of like, and you know, it's very hard for the producers to handle, because that actually I think was what I loosely remember, the first ever China American production. I think that's what they were describing it as at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there must have been like a lot of challenges trying to work around with.
Oh, there was lots of sad things for me. There was weird things, like there was a dog that was like chained up in the middle of the desert, and then next minute you give and this is no reflection on any of the community. I love the people. It was a beautiful community. It's just these are the things that I hadn't noticed. It's just the truth.
It's a big eye opener.
And it was a dog there, and it was skinny, and it didn't look like it was being treated well, and it was just with a metal thing whacked in a chain, and I got a bowl of water for it, like a little bowl of water for it, and then come back after a bit of filming, and the water is gone. And so then I get it again, and then I'm talking to Maria Bello, who played my mother, and she's like, I'm really concerned about this dog. And I'm like, yeah, the dog, yeah. And she's like, I keep giving it water and someone's taking it. And I'm like, what is going on? And then, you know, and then with the military, and, you know, and then there were other incidents. There was some guy assaulted a woman because she was too many water, she was collecting water bottles. And he thought it was a disrespect to the family. He owned the desert. So next minute when he hit her with a chair, and we're like, what the hell's going on? And there's not much we could do about it. There's millions of dollars on that set, and they can't move the set. And it was tough, because it's like, he owned the desert. He didn't, like, you think if you assault someone, you'd run. He got picked up by Mark, the 6'10" big guy. Yeah. And he put him on the ground, and then next minute the guys are smoking a cigarette just at the door going, I'm like, I am in the desert. What are you gonna do about it? You just sense it. I'm like, and when an actor's in that area, they get shooed off. Like, no, Luke, go to the trailer. Luke, go and get your makeup on. Luke, even though you don't want to, even like I got in an armed robbery years ago from a movie, from a TV show and stuff. Like that, we were in it was quite. It was. I mean, like loosely, I don't know how much of it's now imagination in my head that's come up or what happened because it did happen pretty quickly. But I was in shooting in Mount Magnet and Kew in Perth, and it was middle of nowhere area, indigenous land, majority of it, and and there was a pub, and because there wasn't much area for people eating, they brought catering. And they put the catering at the back of the pub and they feed you at the back of the pub. Anyway, it was late at night past the eating window and they were packed up and nearly done. The producers were having a meeting with the director and all that. And I'm in the bar because there's not much to do. You had 2 channels on your telly and I didn't bring a lot to read. I was kind of like silly on how but I was being used a lot. But I had a lunchtime start, which was rare, so because you were up early with the light to get light and a full day of filming. And so I was like, oh well, I'll hang back and just hang in the pub. And I'm at the pub, and then all of a sudden, like this guy comes in with a stocking over his head, like completely over, and he had a shotgun. I'm pretty sure it was a shotgun.
Wow.
And next minute, this shotgun is just like. He's just gone walking straight to the middle of the bar. He's just at that middle of the bar, like that, waiting. And I remember the bar lady across. This is kind of like the stories I've told over and lady going at the end of the bar, reading a magazine that probably was a month old, and she's looked up. She's probably 6. She looked 60, but she was probably 40 because the sun had been hammering her. And she was like, looks up. She grabs the glasses. She puts them on the counter. She walks right up to the shotgun, stares at the shotgun, and he just goes, give us your money. And she goes, damn it, I know it's you. And he goes, give us your money. She goes, damn it, how did that turn on Thursday? No, but hey, we've got guests. I want a fucking drink, give us money. And he's like, no, I want money, give me a tenner. No, you do this every week. No, we told you, you got guests here. And all that, and then out of nowhere, I'm like that. And the producers and the director had walked in after them. Then right just before that, he's like, no, she goes, yeah. And then all of a sudden at the front door, Daryl, I told you, let's go. You know what I mean? That's his brother. His brother's at the front of the door going, come on, let's go. And he goes, oh, yeah. She goes, you're done. And she goes, shoot. And he goes, oh, right, shit. Walks out. Anyway, then loosely remember the producer calling the police, green uniform man too, policeman, and he comes in and he's almost like walking into the bar, and I still remember this, and he's looking at he looks at a regular there, and he's hey Bill, he goes hey Johnny, whatever their names are. Next minute he looks up, he's like, and the producer's like, hi, thanks for coming in. He's like, yeah, what's the problem? He's like, we just had a guy hold a bar up with a shotgun. He's like, all right. And he's like, yeah, and look, I'm kind of got people here. I've got a crew of 30 I'm concerned about. Like, I have to be, and it was a shotgun. He goes, yeah, right. And he looks at Barley, looks up at him and says, just Daryl. Fucking Daryl. All right, man. Yeah, we'll have a word with him. Okay, it's just works a little different around here. You know, don't worry. He wouldn't have hurt nobody. She's like, he had a shotgun, so that's my concern. Yeah, he had a metal and plank of wood.
Metal and plank of wood.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't buy a bullet over anything else. I'll tell you that. You know, and that was kind of like this. You know, and then there was another one straight after when we went to the other place, 100 kilometers, where come out of makeup, and there's a guy waiting for me smoking a cigarette. He's like, oh, you worky? I go, yeah. He goes, you worky? I mean, yeah. And he's like, I got your horses. I said, what? I said, I got your horses. And I want 1,500 for them. I said, 1,500? He goes, yeah. I said, let me guess this, right? You kidnapped the horses? Yeah. All right. And you want 1,500? Yeah. I said, well, I'm not the guy to talk to, but let me go find the person. But give me a minute. And, where are you going to be? He says, I'll be over that bush. I said, right over that bush? He goes, yeah. I said, I'll meet you at that bush. All right, just it might take a bit, all right? But I'm sure they want their horses back. So next minute I go and find the producer and I say, hey, someone's taken our horse. She's like, what? I said, someone's taken our horses. She's like, what do you mean, they got out? I said, no, I think they kidnapped them. And she's like, okay, all right. And then she goes to the guy, I don't remember his name, but let's just say Chris. She said, Chris, your horse is where you're meant to be? Yeah, should be. Gave him a feed about 20 minutes ago. Go and have a look. Comes back, goes, where's me horses? So next minute she's like, all right, show me where he is. The next minute her and assistant are walking up. I go, g'day mate, to the guy, "This is the lady you need to speak to." Yeah. And she goes, "Okay, mate, you got our horses?" He goes, "Yeah." She goes, "What do you want for him?" He said, 1,500. She goes, "Right." He goes, "How about 100? She goes, "Deal."
How about 100?
And then like was next minute she was like, she's like, "Okay, I promise you told this is to get out of petty cash. I promise you, you will have that $100, but we need our horses now for filming." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes out and he walks around, and just around the bush the 3 horses were. Like literally behind the bush. They were there the whole time.
That's
like
crazy.
never made a noise. Well trained horses. Well trained filmed acting
Wow.
horses.
That kind of reminds me of a story, but before. All right,
Cool.
sweet.
Yeah, go.
All right, so I remember going to Samoa 3 times for the Oceania Championships.
Yeah.
And one of them was right before the tsunami happened in Samoa. So we got to see how beautiful it was, and also the poverty behind it as well, like what you were saying, where you see a lot of dogs starving and just begging for food, and you feel a lot of empathy for the dogs that are suffering. And I just remember going snorkeling that time and seeing a fish my size, which was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like one of the most amazing experiences. And
Swallow you.
yeah, it would. Luckily, it didn't. I was trying to swim more on the higher part of the coral just so it didn't come towards me.
Yeah.
And I just remember the next year, right before we went, the tsunami happened. So when we went that time, and after we competed, I went to the same location to go snorkeling. And you could see the building that was recently there was under the sand.
Right, wow.
And you could see the blocks just hanging out in the water.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
Chilling.
Yeah, it was chilling, and you felt so bad because like you don't know how many people were like passed.
In
they
that
were
house,
working there when I met the previous year.
Damn.
Yeah, and then the year after that, I ended up going again, and then I saw everything was renewed, like nothing ever happened.
Wow.
No more buildings underneath, and it was like an upgraded facility.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible. That's crazy though, eh?
it is.
Ooh, chilling.
Oh man,
Chilling. Yeah.
it was, and it kind of reminded me of what you just said, like with your story.
Yeah, that's such a, like, it's like, it puts you in a position too, because it's very hard. You can't really do much.
Definitely.
Yeah, and like there's nothing you can change sometimes. And it's like an understanding that, sometimes what we think is important and wrong in the world might be different in other cultures. And that's where understanding will be developed, and life and stuff like that.
That's very true.
Would you say like all the experiences that you've witnessed, especially pursuing in your acting career, being put in certain environments and the sort of sceneries that you've experienced, would you say that definitely impacted your way of, I'd say, your perspective on life, and as well as talking with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something quite important about being worldly, like getting some grasp of the world. I'm not like completely there, but like, I learned a lot about the Thai culture when I filmed a gig in there. I learned a lot about Montreal and the French Canadians.
Because you were originally born in
learned
Canada.
the importance for them, huh?
Because you were originally born in
Yeah, I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, yeah. But don't have much memories, just me eating a Darth Vader ice block under the clothesline, taking a shit, I think it was. That was it, but I left at about 1 or 2. But yeah, that was really interesting, even going like for the Berlin Film Festival, just really meeting German people as a culture, and other than the judgments you would have of World War II and One. And so, you kind of like, you get to learn a lot about their culture and their history, and it just makes you grow a little bit more. I enjoy growing, and even America, I found America quite intimidating, and then, started to adjust, and, I'd love to go back there again if something makes me travel over there,
America is incredible. Like, especially when you travel to different states, it's quite different to one another.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. It's state to state, very different. Yeah,
It is.
I mean, I haven't been to many states. Like, I did love, New York, San Fran, Texas.
Florida's nice too if you haven't
done
been.
Florida. Yeah,
It's so beautiful.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to, yeah,
And Los Angeles was interesting, especially when we went to the place where they filmed Baywatch.
yeah.
And I just seen a lot of people that are homeless suffering there, a lot of people smoking pot.
Yeah.
But one thing stuck in my mind was the Baywatch song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just imagine David Hasselhoff just running on the beach.
I love that. Yeah. I remember that same experience. It's almost like when someone would say it, this is where and there's I wanna be with you. Is that the song? No, that's not the song.
Be there. I'll be there.
Whenever you... Yeah, I remember that. And then all I see is things bouncing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a cool thing I got to witness when you were explaining last week how you got into character for the Black Balloon. And watching the movie as well, it resonated to me compared to I used to work in disabilities for about a good 6 months. And it was like you're telling the story of this one autistic kid I know.
Yeah,
Who
that's great.
had the same symptoms. But I think the only thing he did was he was rubbing his fingers.
That's awesome.
Because
I
he had
remember that. I remember that one there. That's a good one. Yeah.
And
He had swollen fingers from it.
yeah,
Interesting.
definitely.
Right.
And I just remember same behaviors you were portraying in the film, and the way he was actually acting it or actually living it in real life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were scared by him when he was aggro, just because he was in pain because of his fingers.
Yeah.
And I just remember having to hold him by his hands and just tell him everything is going to be okay.
It's tough. It was interesting meeting a lot of people of different sorts and actually meeting the guy I was basing it on. Yeah, you really learn a lot about yourself, and also yourself. You know, I learned a lot about the comforts of being autistic. To be honest, there were areas of freedom. There were areas of present moment. You know, the rocking was something I loved. I loved rocking. It was the one that scared me the most. Well, the pain and the anger of Charlie was, the anger of Charlie I thought would be the easiest, was the hardest. The guy I played, the one I thought would be the easiest would be the fun, easy, good stuff. The laugh was the hardest. It was taking me forever to find it. I actually only found it in rehearsals when Reese was doing some of the stuff where he chased me because I got a tampon in my mouth, and that's based on a true story supposedly. And he was digging into me, tickling me, but he's a terrible tickler. Reese, you're a terrible tickler if you hear this. And he had sharp nails, and it was like, oh! And I was like, and then I was like, oh, there's the laugh. And I found the laugh. Yeah. And so I was able to master that quite quickly. But yeah, the rocking was one of the ones where I was like, dude, how do I get this rocking in me that's automatic? That I'm not thinking about it or doing it or I'm trying to do that. Because, you know, you don't want to be doing that and trying to act a scene. And, man, I would have thought, well, what if I had dialogue? That would have made it even more hard. I don't know. But, and so then, got it in me. But sport did it to me. Went and hanged out with my mates and they were watching the footy. And I said, all right, for the whole half, I'm going to rock. Man, that was it. Never left me for the whole shoot. In fact, even out of character, supposedly, I was rocking a bit.
Yeah.
The doco guys were saying, and then proved it by saying, look, see. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of doing this still and doing all that. And so, yeah, it was, but it was awesome. Amazing to work with those people and make films like that.
Yeah,
that was really meaningful. It was lovely, promoting the film. And I think I was on radio, I don't know what radio station, but and you have callers in and they're like, oh, mate, I got a great story. My son, he does it similar. My son, you have to take him to the parking spot. And if you don't have that parking spot, he'll lose it, And you could just see the love of telling that story, the love of sharing their family, their pride and their struggles and their sense of memories and their sense of and it really seemed to be something that they responded to. That was the whole point. But my whole goal was to wake up autistic. That was the goal in Black Balloon, to wake up autistic. Nice. And I kind of did.
Yeah.
Meaning when I'd wake up to stay in character or something, I'd wake up in the morning and all right, I'm Luke, and then go, I'm Charlie, and tried to stay in it as long as I could.
That's cool. Last question. So, if you could speak to yourself when you were wanting to be an actor, aspiring actor, knowing all the things you know now, what advice would you give to yourself?
Ooh. Let go of the roles that you get. Bryan Cranston's "It's a Lost Wallet" is a great mentality. Have fun. Don't care what people think. Follow your impulse. Don't fear success or failure, because there is failure in success, and there is success in failure. I've learned a lot of in some way I found some success in failure. You know, there's something that you were proud of from the attempt or whatever. But what you should fear is mediocrity. You know, that there's make a choice and take a risk and go for it. And as an actor, don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself.
I love that.
Don't be afraid to make a dick of yourself.
100%.
There's a fine line between too much and right on it. There is a fine line, and it's harder when it's on the other end, like you're below it. You just don't have the courage to get over it. So get over it and pull it back, you know, and don't be afraid to take a risk. Yeah, and that's it. And other people's opinions of you is none of your business. That's a really important one.
Yeah, that's
one
great.
that you have to learn through reviews. Like, don't go reading your reviews. Don't, even though they're great reviews, and yeah, there's the mistakes I made, you know, and even though they're great reviews or bad reviews, it's like they give you the permission to be affected.
That's cool.
Meaning, like, when you read them, next minute you're affected by them, and if you're affected by them, they control you a bit, the good and the bad. So it's best just to be like, it's not why I do it. It's not about the praise. It's about the play. The praise is lovely, but like, I do love people enjoying my work, but it's also frustrating, especially when you're not working. Like, when you're not working and people say, "Oh, you're a great actor. You're a great actor." You know, you're like, "Well, if I'm a great actor, why aren't I fucking working?" You know, it's ridiculous. You know, so you know, people's opinions of you in every aspect, and how, you know, and just know when you're emotional, it's just how they impact your reality. Like, everything is about how they impact your reality. Your reality is your reality.
What about the times when you made mistakes, right? And you know, those flaws and those the ones that like really hit you hard, and and like you feel the pressure of, like, you know, yes, there's judgment from people who are close with you, and you know, as well as within the acting industry, right? How did you manage through that sort of
I guess
moment?
I think when you have those setbacks, I think sometimes I like the notion of, like, you have 24 hours or 48 hours, maybe on the big ones, 48 hours. Like, 48 hours to feel sorry for yourself, 48 hours to let it all kind of go, and then, you know, in those final hours of the 48 hours, start to transition and go, okay, let it go. You know, it's good. It's a frustrating game. It's ups and downs. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've had failures. Like, even Mummy in some way was a failure for me. Yeah. And I had to learn from it and grow from it. And you know, I think that being kind to yourself is actually interesting. Like, and not thinking, just playing. Like, don't think too much. You put yourself in so much shit when you think too much. Stay present as much you can. And be more consciously aware of where you went wrong, consciously aware of the behavior of you, how you were behaving that made things go wrong. Like, being consciously aware means change, and then educating yourself on the mistakes you made. That brings understanding. I love that quote, and I can't fully remember it, but I think Dr. Joe Dispenza says it. But it's like, knowledge without experience is inexperience. Inexperience without knowledge is ignorance.
That's true.
If you're not, you know, if you don't grow and learn through the experiences, you're going to keep making the same mistakes. That's ignorant. And, you know, unfortunately, I have at times. Yeah. As we all have. But I think, you know, just these days, letting go of it, like, not getting so angry, not getting so frustrated, working on better emotions than that. And, you know, emotions come from your thoughts. Thoughts create, you know, the language of your mind. Feelings are the language of your body. And so you will transition and you'll grow from it. And like I've overacted in some films, and I look back and think to myself, you know what? Yeah, I didn't do a great job, but, you know, I was trying something there. I was taking risks with my work. I was doing it. So I start to see some of the areas of where it's positive, and then I also see where it's like, okay, I got to find some finesse in my work still. And I maybe needed to ingrain it more in me and build some more habits and take more risks, you know. And so, you know, it's a process. Art is a process. It's like it's an evolution. Like, you know, if an artist is not evolving, then they're going stale. They're going backwards. So, you know, each take you grow. Each take is like, you know, the game's not over. Don't lock in just that take and you think that's it. I did a take, I can just do the same thing. No, let's see if we can get better. Let's see if we can get better. Let's see if we can do better. Let's see if we can connect better. There's always things that are just a little bit in our way.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
And I just want to thank you, Luke, for coming
worries.
down. It was a great pleasure talking to
I love
you.
it. I'll bill you later.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm only joking.
And make sure if you're watching this, you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time on the Path Talk Show.